a good cahirlach agus táthas arm lortseir an rún seo a nocht agus gavan buchas do sin féin a chur an rún os ar gór. Tá sé fear havagdach agus bhhalam fúscailte áil don feib seo. Minister, I'm very happy to speak on this motion here today. This is an issue that has generated significant concern within the Midlands and indeed right across rural Ireland. And I'm indeed one of those frustrated TDs that Deputy Canny referred to. I know during the summer months there in July, we had issues along the Shannon where farmers' land was flooded. A lot of farmers were affected. Livestock had to be moved. And there was huge confusion over the gates at Meelick. And I remember contacting your office, Minister, and also the OPW. But this is a reoccurring thing. I mean, I remember raising this issue when I was a county councillor in 2014, and it's just going on too long. And I hope that tonight won't be a meaningless talking shop again. We need concrete actions. People are becoming very frustrated and angry over the whole issue. And I sincerely hope that we can all be constructive and work together in terms of formulating solutions once and for all to this ongoing issue that people really want resolved. Flooding, as we know, has far-reaching negative and devastating impacts, such as emotional stress, the loss of individual homes in cases, and the loss of maybe farmland or businesses, severe associated health issues, and dramatic declines in economic competitiveness within impacted communities and regions. I accept that Minister O'Donovan is sincere when he speaks about his desire to have these matters addressed, but as always, the real issues relate to the lack of tangible outcomes. Time and time again, my colleagues have called on the Department and indeed the OPW to immediately escalate its response to ongoing flooding issues affecting farmers and residents, particularly in West Offaly, where there are about 200 farmers affected from flooding caused by the River Shannon. And in Riverstown also, a village which straddles the Tipperary Offaly border. There is an issue there with the River Brosna also. So we need to get to grips with those, Minister, and I'm highlighting them here again tonight in the hope that we can get solutions in place. Unfortunately, what has been seen, and I hope this will change, but the response to this issue from the government side has been lethargic at best. I am constantly in contact with a number of farmers from West Offaly, and they are profoundly alarmed at the apparent lack of action. Many of them have grazing land that can only be used for 2 months of the year. So they're at risk of encountering fodder shortages. It's just unbelievable, the stress and the hardship that they have to endure. And I'm calling for that to end here tonight. I've always maintained, however, that this matter demands a whole of government approach, because the nature of the damage to farms, as well as the threat to the provision of fodder that the flooding is bringing about, is great. Unfortunately, and I have said this before, for a significant number of farmers in Offaly, and indeed right across the Midlands, the rains and the flooding are becoming as predictable as the government's lack of response. And I say with sincerity, I really hope that changes and that we can see a change in that. And I'll come back and I'll be the first person to welcome any such change. We know that Ireland's Catchment Flood Risk Assessment and Management (CFRAM) programme has been meeting for the best part of a decade to develop strategies for the reduction of risk. And I just become very cynical about all of the reports produced and no actions. If we could agree just a small few actions in those reports and carry them through. Because there's a terrible problem here. It just seems to be reports all of the time. Indeed, I remember being in Offaly County Council discussing these reports and the time wasted. And I can honestly say very, very little was done. So I would like to see an end of the reports and more action and focused actions. You know, the issue that the motion highlights when it calls for a single agency to be set up, I believe that is definitely an urgent need. There is huge confusion. I mean, I remember being contacted in July by farmers, and I was running from the OPW to the ESB to the Minister's office, and it's just a disaster. We need one management authority that will effectively manage the River Shannon, and it's just a pragmatic response to a difficult and complex issue. Despite the fact that there has been much highlighting of this issue, I had an oral priority question ruled inadmissible by Minister Ryan's department. And I just wonder, the Green Party are full of aspiration, but they don't seem to care about communities in rural Ireland that are being flooded. The parliamentary question that I submitted specifically dealt with issues related to Waterways Ireland, which falls under the remit of Minister Ryan's department, yet it was rejected. And this is not the kind of engagement that I or any other rural deputy in this House deserves or wants to see going forward.